This is Goal's preview of Sunday's clash between Manchester City and Manchester United. As you know, this is not just a Manchester derby, it's a battle between two iconic managers, Jose Mourinho against Pep Guardiola. Let's see what's coming up on the show. Sam and Pete cover all the talking points ahead of the game. There's over to you with your questions on the big game. The guys discuss where the match will be won and lost in battlegrounds. Will any Manchester United players make the combined 11? And finally, Sam and Pete give us their predictions. Well, we've got our own Pep and Jose here, chief correspondent Peter Staunton, who will be representing Man United, but I have to say you look a bit more like Pep today.
No, thank you. Don't have a choice in the matter.
And Manchester City correspondent Sam Lee. Could you be considered as a Jose, would you say, Sam?
Most likely not.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we're going to jump straight into the talking points. You've got 2 minutes to discuss. Let's see what's up first. So we have Alexis.
Yeah, Alexis, it's not really worked out at United, is it? It's fair to say.
I think City dodged a bullet based on his performances at how he's played at Man United. But then again, you know, what if Guardiola had got hold of him last January? Would he have, you know, drilled him a bit better tactically? Would he have, you know, made sure that work rate stayed as high as it was when it was at Arsenal? Would he have got an extra gear out of him like he has out of so many other attackers at Man City? You know, is this the true Alexis that we're seeing at Man United, or is it just the fact that he's been sort of run into the ground by Mourinho?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching this will think it's just Mourinho bashing or United bashing, but genuinely, if you look at it, how many players has Mourinho improved? How many has he taken on? At the moment, Shaw and Martial are playing all right, but they're just doing what they were doing before Mourinho even came in.
Yeah,
it's taken
that's what they were both
2 and a bit years to get back to that level.
Yeah.
I'm not sure at the moment that he's actually improved them. The rest, and again, people talk about backing Mourinho with signings in January or beyond. Spent 89 million on Pogba. Pogba's a great player, got the potential to be a great player, but he's not living up to that potential. Partly because of, you know, some of this whole thing about him insisting behind the scenes that he can only play in one position. I think he should offer himself a bit more, but largely because Mourinho's not really getting his players into a cohesive unit, and they're not getting the best out of them, and that's pretty much the same for Alexis Sanchez. I mean, again, maybe he's got problems, Alexis himself, but again, he's not being helped because he's in a system. Well, it's not a system because it doesn't work.
I would say if you looked at the raw material of Raheem Sterling and the raw material of Alexis Sanchez, and you know, you rewind the clock maybe 2 years, and you asked any Premier League fan who would you rather in your team, Sterling or Sanchez?
Oh yeah, 100%.
They'd probably go for Sanchez every time.
Yeah.
But you look at the difference in productivity that Sterling has gone to under Guardiola compared to how Alexis has regressed under Jose Mourinho, and you get an idea of, you know, what coaching, just that extra little bit of attacking coaching can do at this level. It's not good enough what Mourinho does with his attackers. He defends with 6 outfield players, he attacks with 4 and says, go and win me the game. Whereas Guardiola coordinates everything in an attacking sense. And that's why his wide forwards and his centre forwards score so many goals and United's don't.
Okay, I'll give you that. That was about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Let's move on to the next topic. Next up, we have FFP.
I'll start with, you know,
please do.
Look, City fans boo the UEFA anthem, but really they should be like getting down on their knees and thanking UEFA that they can even play in this competition, because their rule breaches, as detailed by Der Spiegel, are so blatant and so egregious that they've really got, you know, there's no comeback to the allegations that they've been levelled against them. I mean, they broke the rules and they got away with it. And now, just because, you know, you would say that UEFA dealt with those breaches at the time in terms of the fines and the player restrictions, squad restrictions that they had to that they were forced to deal with, then, you know, is there an awful lot more that can be done?
Let me just give you one theory, which isn't necessarily my own, but it's pretty much the prevalent theory among City fans at the moment, and me as City correspondent, I've got a lot of interactions with City fans, and they'll be screaming at the screens now saying this. Basically, their viewpoint is they shouldn't be cheering UEFA at all, regardless of being let off any penalties, because in their view, UEFA designed these financial fair play restrictions to completely hamper them in the first place, and therefore their argument is fans, perhaps even within the club, they feel justified for kind of, cooking the books, allegedly, to get around these sanctions which they feel were unfair in the first place, because at the end of the day, if the Sheikh's put in extra money via different companies, at the end of the day he's only putting in his own money, which he would have been entitled to do if it wasn't for financial fair play. And again, it's not necessarily my opinion, but that is pretty much the one dominant theory among City fans at the moment regarding the whole situation. Like we say, we could go on about it a lot.
Done pretty well with that. Let's see what your third and final topic is. We have Mourinho.
I think the greatest trick that Jose Mourinho has managed to pull on Man United over the past 2.5 years is sort of gaslight them into believing that he has sort of dragged them down to the level that they belong at. As in, this is a Man United team who deserves to be winning League Cups and Europa Leagues and should be content with finishing fourth or second last year, as the case may be, because of all the sort of limitations that he's got to work with and how poor the squad is. I think that is total garbage from Mourinho, and I think it does a disservice to United as a club and sort of the history that they've built up. But not only that, the wealth, the wages, the transfer fees that they can afford. This is a massive club that he is tanking.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. And again, I know there's going to be United fans watching this and thinking it's just anti-United and anti-Mourinho. But I mean, I think that is reflective of the situation that's going on at the moment. You know, United are in a lowly position in the table, and it's not because Mourinho wasn't backed in the summer, not solely because of that, certainly not solely because of that. Because again, Mourinho, he's had the control of the funds in the past. He's bought the players he wanted in. We haven't got the time in the 2 minutes to run through the players he's bought since he come in. But in the first summer, he was happy with those 4. He said how happy he was with those 4. Yeah. Mkhitaryan's one of them, and he's gone already. Anyway, we can't go through all of them. The second summer, he didn't get Perisic from Inter, as if he had made any difference. And that would have been to replace Mkhitaryan, who'd already gone.
Yeah. Or Martial, who he would have
it's just, I know it comes across as really negative against Mourinho, but it's just the reality. It really is. You're right in what he's saying. And every time it was going wrong, you know, a couple of months ago, a few weeks ago, when it was just really like the Wolves are caving in, all he did was spend his time saying how he's still a great manager and what he's won. I've won this many. And the 3 fingers at Chelsea, the 3 fingers against Juve. It's like, just take a bit of responsibility for the situation you're in. Yeah. Because, fine, he hasn't been backed, and the situation at United is not just down to Mourinho, far from it. But Guardiola wasn't backed, to bring it back to Derby, Guardiola wasn't backed to the extent that he wanted. In the first summer, he wanted a completely new defence, didn't get it, but just didn't moan about it and got on with it. City, they didn't win the league, they came 4th. But if you look at the way Mourinho's handled it since, it's just, I think there's light and day between the two approaches. And again, it looks negative on Mourinho, but it's a negative situation. He's not playing negative football either. It's not defensive football. It's just bad football generally.
Okay, fine, let's end on that positive note. Now it's over to you. Let's see what you've been asking Pete and Sam on Twitter this week. The first one is for you, Sam. Jimmy Soronis asks, since he arrived in the Prem, has Ederson been a better goalkeeper than De Gea?
I mean, Ederson has basically been flawless. He's had a couple of wobbles. The main one was probably Liverpool in the Champions League, but there was so much damage done elsewhere. Yeah. It's kind of been overlooked. But he's perfect for that City team, and just his use of the ball and the fact that he's so comfortable outside his area, just being there and available for a pass or to sweep up, he's perfect for City. And then you've got De Gea, and he's had a bit of a wobble, really, in terms of the World Cup. A few times at United this season, but you know, generally people would still have him as maybe one of the top 3 goalkeepers in the world, if not the best. I think with all Neuer's injury problems in his own World Cup, De Gea's surpassed Neuer, and he was the benchmark for so long. De Gea's perfect for United. He gets a lot of shots to save, and he's really good at saving shots, but he doesn't come off his line, and he's not particularly good on the ball, or not as good as Ederson with the ball. But that's fine for United. So,
but is it?
But you wouldn't put him in a City because of his limitations would be shown up more.
This is what annoys me with David De Gea, because De Gea, when he's at the peak of his career, he should have become the goalkeeper that Manuel Neuer became after Guardiola went to Bayern Munich. There was nothing that Manuel Neuer couldn't do as a goalkeeper, a shot stopper, when Guardiola got there. And he took him to the next level with his feet, as a sweeper keeper, as a player. Whereas De Gea has just totally flatlined under Mourinho. He's kicking the ball away 9-10 times a game. All his passes are going long. He's not involved in the build-up play.
Not just Mourinho, to be fair. Not
just Mourinho, but I just think I don't know whether it's the instructions that he has been given at Man United, or whether it's just the fact that he's sort of happy with his lot there. But I just think there's a better goalkeeper, a better football player with then David De Gea. They just hasn't been brought to the fore. And because of that, I think he's been overtaken by players like Ederson, like Alisson, and like Kepa Arrizabalaga. I think they're the best 3 goalkeepers in the Premier League because they get involved so much in the general play. And that's reflected by which teams are top of the table and where United are. Because the ball comes back at them constantly because he keeps kicking it away. And then he has to make great saves and everybody goes, oh, De Gea's made another 9 saves today. He shouldn't have to. You keep the ball better, you don't have to make saves.
Yeah, and if pushed, I probably would say Ederson's been more impressive than De Gea.
Okay.
And they're both great, but just different styles and yeah.
Okay, so Javier Silva Bravo asked on Alexis, what could have happened if he'd accepted City's offer?
He probably wouldn't have made as much money because United gave him the richest contract in the history of the Premier League, and that tells two stories. One is that Jose Mourinho was willing to spend any amount of money just to make sure that Pep Guardiola didn't get his man, and the other one it tells is that United, they don't really have a coherent transfer strategy. It's whoever's floating about, they'll bring him in. You look at sort of the laser-guided focus with which other teams at the top of the table buy players. Jorginho and Kepa Arrizabalaga would have been 2 good examples from Chelsea.
And Liverpool's transfer strategy, the way they run their club is just to not bang on about how well-run City are or otherwise.
But it's the same with City,
but,
right?
Yeah, but Liverpool, they have got a strategy, and obviously it works. And it makes it look easy because they've gone and bought Van Dijk and Alisson and improved 2 positions massively. And you think, it can't be that easy, can it? And it's not. And it's the way that City have gone about it. Yes, City have spent a lot of money, but United have spent a lot of money. Lesser, but a lot of money. But there's no guarantee that these players, like Liverpool have done, like Chelsea have done, like United have done, City have done
in that defensive midfield position this summer what Liverpool did with Van Dijk a year ago, which was, we couldn't get our defensive midfield player in, so you know what? We'll wait and we'll eventually get the right midfield player in. Whereas United seem to always be in a rush to get that player through the door. And whether it's Eric Bailly or whether it's Victor Lindelof, they get the wrong ones in. Mkhitaryan, the wrong ones. Sanchez, for me, the wrong ones. It's like they need to get somebody in the door rather than the right guy in the door. They don't seem to have a profile in mind of what kind of football team they want to put out there. So therefore, they're putting square pegs in round holes all over the field. And Alexis is just manifesting.
You say that I'm not going to lay the blame 100% at Mourinho's door, but I'm not going to lay the blame 100% at the players' door because it's a little bit of everything. Alexis Sanchez, maybe Arsenal fans would say this was coming and maybe a decline like this, but maybe if he had gone to City with the coaching and the level of detail, it just wouldn't have been such a decline to this level. And maybe City, they would have won the Premier League last year, he would have won a Premier League medal. Maybe now they'd be looking and thinking, he's not quite what we thought, but it's impossible to know, but I think it's probably a safe bet to say if he had gone to City, he'd be playing better.
So next up, it's battlegrounds. Let's take a look where this game will be won and lost. First of all, Sam, what are the key areas of the pitch for this game?
Well, I think the key areas, if you looked at it like a heat map kind of thing, it's going to be on the edge of the United box. Again, people think, oh, part of the bus, whatever, but there's no point in United going toe-to-toe with City, I don't think. Certainly not in the first 45 minutes. Because they haven't got a system to match that. And it goes back to what we were saying about Mourinho earlier in terms of the way he won trophies at United in his first season. Playing his way of football. What he knows about winning is built on this way of playing football. It's being reactive, letting the opposition have the ball and taking your opportunities in the rare moments that you have it. And I can't see it being any different. City will play their game. I mean, nobody needs telling that. Guardiola will send them out to have the ball and press high and keep the ball high. So the game's going to be played on the edge of the United box. And it's going to be the spaces in the round there and how that can be exploited. Now, they've got loads of different ways of doing that, City, and they've got loads of different players they could play. But with De Bruyne being out, it's probably going to be Bernardo Silva in there again, although he doesn't quite like Gundogan. But he's going to have a plan. We don't know what it is, but he's going to have a plan. And it's all going to be based around the fact that City are going to have the ball on the edge of that United box and they're going to have to be working the spaces and pulling United apart and creating overloads and just making gaps to get the forwards in to score the kind of tap-in goals we've mentioned earlier, the ones that City have made a trademark.
And Pete, what do you think? Man United's going to play defensively?
Yeah, of course they are. And their best chance of getting anything out of this game rather than keeping the whole thing scoreless, if they do happen to fall behind or they do happen to go ahead, I think it's going to be on the break, down one of the flanks. And you look at the form that Anthony Martial is in, you would say that he's probably United's best route to goal in a fixture like this. So if United can break out from the pressure that Sanchez City are going to put them under at the edge of their own box, get one ball into the channel to Martial down the left-hand side, get him one-on-one with Kyle Walker. If he can beat him, get a shot in, or even beat him, get a cross in for whoever they're going to play up front, centre forward, then, you know, United could be looking at maybe taking a 1-0 lead or an equaliser. So, yeah, for me, he's going to be United's most important attacking player on the day, Anthony Martial. If they're going to get out of the game, it's going to come from him.
Okay, just very quickly now, will any Man United players make the combined 11?
Man United fans will say David De Gea should be in goal and probably that Martial should be in the left wing. But if everybody's fit and in form, for me, a combined Manchester 11 at the moment is Manchester City's favourite 11.
I know, it looks terrible again, doesn't it? And I remember when a journalist did this for the Arsenal Spurs game, and he did all Spurs players, and then Arsenal won. And he got dogs abuse for it, or awful abuse, genuinely. So I think that could be coming our way. And look, we're fully aware of the fact that United could win this game, because they did in April. They could well do it now. But in terms of a combined 11, the best players this season, I can't see any outfield United player getting in that. Shaw's done okay, although I think his revival's been overstated. He's done okay. Well. And Mendy has had a few dodgy moments, especially the Spurs game. But what he does bring to the team, I think that just gets him in ahead of Shaw. And then, yeah, you mentioned Martial. He's doing well enough recently, but Sterling's definitely in it. Yeah. Aguero's definitely in it. And I think Mahrez has been better than Martial recently. Yeah, it's a debatable one, that one. But if we're going by form, Mahrez, and if we're just going by picking players because of the threat they can pose, I think Sane is a more dangerous player than Martial. I think Martial's great, and I think he's been underused, but he has been underused, and his potential has not been lived up to in the same way that Sane's has been. And then, yeah, the biggest one is the goalkeeper, which we've already mentioned. So in this combined 11, look, combined 11s are a bit of fun, but I take mine seriously. Yeah. I want it to work. I want it to actually work. So you wouldn't put De Gea in because he's not got the skill set that City need. And given the rest of the combined 11, it's not combined, it's just City. It has to be Ederson. So for me, and again, this sounds like blue spectacles or whatever, but I genuinely think, impartially, this is how it is. Ederson, Walker, Stones, Laporte, and again, maybe Stones wouldn't be the #1 candidate in any other year, but no United centre-back. Lindelof's been decent recently, but he's not getting in the debate. Mendy, as we've already mentioned, the midfield three, Fernandinho, De Bruyne, David Silva, that's untouchable. Pogba's got the potential, but he's not living up to it again, similar to Martial. And again with Martial, maybe I'll go Sane in that spot, and then Sterling and Aguero at the moment in terms of form. That's it. And achievements recently, non-negotiable.
Okay, finally, your predictions.
I think City are going to batter them. I think it could be like when Mourinho took Real Madrid to Barcelona and got smashed like 5-0. Maybe it's not going to be 5-0. I'm going to say 6-0. No, I'm only kidding. I'm going to say 4-0. 4-0 for Man City. It's going to be a massive game. They've been too good for everybody in the Premier League this year. There's a statement coming. It's coming here. 4-0 Man City.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that. And again, we mentioned the game in April and what happened. City, obviously they won't have the Liverpool thing, so they won't have rested their best players from the start, but they will not want that to happen again. That will be a proper deep wound for them as far as last season goes. It still is for the fans as well. Yeah. They will not want that to happen again. So if they do go up a goal early, and they score a lot of early goals, I wouldn't rule them out doing it again. They will really go for it, I think. And Guardiola says they always go to the 89th, 90th minute, but I think this time there'll be no let up. They really will go for it. Whether that's enough or not, we don't know, because for whatever reason, they lost to United in April. So I'm not ruling out a United win, but I do. If I had to put money on it, in my own money, I would go with Pete and say 3-0, 4-0, something comfortable like that. United would really have to come up with the goods.
We will have to wait and see. Thanks, Pete and Sam, for joining me. As always, you can follow these guys on Twitter and Instagram. Just follow the links in the description. Let us know in the comments section who you think will win this one and why. And as always, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get all the latest football news and analysis direct from goal.